You've been watching People Are Like Books. Whom do we open our hearts to? Whom do we trust when there are no family members left? No true friends around us? When life reaches its twilight, to whom do we hand over our last will? Our very name? Doris Duke, the richest woman in America, heiress to a tobacco empire, owner of palaces, private jets, and one of the largest personal fortunes in the world. She had no husband, no children, and when the time came to write her will, Doris Duke left everything to her butler. Why did one of the most powerful women of the 20th century not choose her family? Why did she ignore her relatives standing by the door? Bernard Lafferty, a barely educated Irishman with a troubled past, suddenly found himself the executor of one of the greatest private fortunes in American history. Behind him, the fury of Miss Duke's adopted daughter, court battles, accusations of murder, and a fortune that unexpectedly fell at his feet. And in the end, loneliness. 3 years and 1 week after Doris's death, Bernard Lafferty died too, alone, in a mansion with 20-foot ceilings surrounded by velvet, crystal, and rumors. Let's try to figure it out. The story of Doris Duke and her butler Bernard Lafferty is proof that family ties do not always guarantee love, loyalty. And true devotion often comes from someone you would not expect, from a complete stranger. You will always be loved only for your money. The cautious James Buchanan Duke, who made a huge fortune in the cigarette trade and electricity production, taught his only and adored daughter. The owner of American Tobacco got married for the first time in his late 50s, quickly divorced, and only in his second marriage, at the age of 56, became a father. Only 5 years after the wedding, his wife, widow Neneline Holt-Inman, gave birth to a long-awaited child, a girl named Doris. Was he disappointed that he wasn't a son? Is unknown, but he adored his daughter. The girl slept on silk underwear, was surrounded by bodyguards, and was driven to school in a Rolls-Royce specially purchased for these trips. James will name a yacht and a private luxury railway carriage in her honor. In the fall of 1925, Doris was 12. Her father died. America's richest girl, according to her father's will, was supposed to inherit her gigantic fortune in several stages. In the meantime, it remained under the control of the executors. When her mother, Neneline, decided she wanted to sell their beloved Duke Farms in New Jersey, Doris was not happy about it. In truth, the place was a farm in name only, a grand 30-room mansion with an indoor tennis court, a private theater, a pool, expansive gardens, a vast conservatory, and more than 2,700 acres of land. Years later, Doris herself would welcome guests like Elvis Presley, Sophia Loren, Elizabeth Taylor, and other stars to her home. Sadly, the mansion was partially demolished in early 2016, after years of neglect had made much of it unusable and the cost of maintaining it unsustainable. Another great loss of a Gilded Age mansion. Yet Duke Farms lives on. Today the grounds are open to the public with miles of trails, lakes, and greenhouses that still carry a quiet echo of the world Doris once cherished. In 1929, at the height of the Great Depression, which had almost no effect on Duke's condition, people did not stop smoking even during the crisis, and perhaps smoked even more. Doris shone on a debutante ball at the Rough Point family estate, purchased by her father from the Vanderbilt family. At an impressive 183 centimeters, extraordinarily tall for her time, Doris, with her expressive but heavy features and a pronounced chin, simply didn't fit the conventional standards of cover girl beauty. However, impeccable taste, expensive outfits, jewelry, skillfully applied makeup, and finally youth turned her into a spectacular figure of the gossip column. And honestly, who would dare criticize the looks of America's richest bride? That's exactly how the relentless press labeled her. Yet despite all the headlines and the crowd of admirers, this golden girl kept her distance from high society fuss, and she didn't rush into marriage. Only in 1935, at the age of 23, did she finally say yes. Her chosen one was James Cromwell, whose family lost their fortune during the Great Depression. He was 16 years older, and it seemed as if Doris was looking for paternal support in him. But alas, this man was far from the nobility and talents of his namesake, the late James Duke. Already on their wedding night, according to Doris herself, he showered his young wife not with words of love, but with questions about his financial support. Doris Duke made her first major purchase herself, buying the Shangri-la estate in Hawaii, where she spent almost a year on honeymoon with Mr. Cromwell. I must say that she was not afraid of any work at all. She washed the Majolica panels on the facade of Shangri-La with her own hands. Later, she will turn this estate into a museum of Islamic art, culture, and design, placing her gigantic collection there. After her death, the museum is managed by the foundation named after her. When Doris found out about her husband's infidelities, despite her pregnancy, she simply kicked him out of the house. The nervous shock turned into a tragedy for her. The birth began prematurely, and the girl, whom Doris named Arden, lived only a day. She has mourned this loss all her life. She will never have any other children. It was rumored that Doris tried to drown herself out of desperation, but was saved by Hawaiian surfing legend Duke Kahanamoku. In his arms, Doris will be numbing the pain of losing a child for several months. And then the young and healed Doris threw caution to the wind and embarks on all sorts of serious endeavors. It was only 4 years after the divorce that Doris's heart trembled again. In Paris, this city of love, she fell in love again with Porfirio Ribeiros, a charming ladies' man who called himself a diplomat from the Dominican Republic. In reality, he was a seasoned hunter of wealthy ladies. According to legend, for $1 million settlement, Ms. Duke took him from the French actress Danielle Derriere. His wife was very generous and gave Mr. Ribeiros a 17th century house in Paris, a stable, and even an airplane. These material benefits were enough to make him vanish forever. After that, Doris no longer sought happiness in marriage and did not allow anyone to profit from her condition. As before, she preferred to give luxuries to herself. One of her airplanes, for instance, was fitted with a bedroom styled after the interior of one of her lavish estates. I don't want to present Doris Duke as just a frivolous heiress, spending her life chasing novelties. She loved music, sang gospels, and played the piano. During World War II, she volunteered at a soldier's canteen in Egypt for a symbolic $1 a year, and thanks to her fluent French, she also wrote reports for the International News Service. Later, in peacetime, she lived in Paris and published in Harper's Bazaar. Even as one of the richest women on the planet, it was important for her not just to live, but to be useful. While other billionaires were planning charitable acts, Doris Duke was already doing it in practice. Her money worked. She created foundations supporting medicine, art, history, and the fight against child abuse. Over her lifetime, the Tobacco Princess donated more than $400 million to charity, quietly without any fanfare, an impressive sum, driven by a genuine desire to be useful. Another of Doris' passions was gardening. In memory of her father, James, she organized the Duke Gardens Botanical Garden, which was open to the public, brought rare plants there, and sometimes personally helped the gardeners. She also enjoyed working in the gardens at her estate, Duke Farms in New Jersey. She could afford everything from diamonds to couture, but she was indifferent to it. In her casket were Cartier, Tiffany, Van Cleef, precious products made with incredible taste. Perhaps it is worth dedicating a separate film to this. But most of the time, the pictures show only a string of pearls around her neck. Art was what fascinated her the most. Captivated by the jazz laces of the young pianist Joe Castro, She gave him a villa in Beverly Hills. With impressive provenance, Rudolph Valentino once lived there, but as soon as the relationship cooled, the villa safely returned to its owner. Now, Doris loved generously, but without illusions. In the mid-1960s, Doris Duke was still looking for love. She became seriously interested in designer Eduardo Torello, despite his scandalous reputation as a gigolo. In 1966, their romance ended in tragedy. When Torello was opening the gates of the mansion, Doris accidentally crushed him with a car. The court recognized the death as an accident. Relatives received compensation of $75,000. This incident has deeply shaken Miss Duke. In the mid-'80s, Doris Duke had more money than ever before. The annual inventory of the gold reserves in the bank vaults alone cost Miss Duke $150,000. When Miss Duke passed 70, people around her began to notice her oddities. It was said that more and more often she grieved for the loss of baby Arden. At the age of 75, she decided to adopt a 35-year-old woman named Shandy Hefner, believing that she was the reincarnation of her deceased daughter. But I must say, she quickly came to her senses and annulled the adoption, at the same time rewriting the will. When Doris Duke, the tobacco princess, passed away in 1993 after a series of unsuccessful surgeries, there was only one person by her side, her butler, Bernard Lafferty. When it became known that Miss Duke had bequeathed Lafferty $5 million and appointed him co-executor of her billion-dollar fortune for life with an annual payment of $500,000, the media went wild, and high society was in shock. Who the hell is he? The newspapers were full. What did he owe to her? Lawyers, relatives, servants asked. Bernard Lafferty was born on a farm in Northern Ireland. Orphaned at an early age, he emigrated to America with only a suitcase and a fierce desire to survive. At 17, he started working as a waiter, later pouring cocktails in Los Angeles bars. He was lucky enough to get a job as Elizabeth Taylor's own valet. They say it was in her house that he learned the main thing, how to be close to the Queen without becoming her threat. Then he got a job as a butler for singer Peggy Lee. It was she who recommended it to Doris Duke in 1986. He had earned Miss Duke's trust for years. He never asked. He never suggested. He simply was, day after day, hour after hour, always in the shadows, and she loved his presence, his calmness, devotion. He knew when to cover her with a blanket, and he didn't ask any questions. He went out the door at the right time. Doris wasn't a saint, and Lafferty wasn't an angel. They say he was even an alcoholic. But something arose between them that has no definitions in jurisprudence and does not fit into family albums in any way. And she trusted him so much that she made him the executor of her fortune of $1.2 billion. After her death, Lafferty was accused of everything: manipulation, embezzlement, forgery of documents, even murder. Rumors claimed that he paid his bills with her credit card while she lay in a coma, and even gave her a lethal dose of morphine. But nothing could be proven. Tammy Payette, Miss Duke's nurse, who alleged that Doris had been killed by the butler, was later sentenced to 8 years for stealing from her clients. The adopted daughter, Shandy Duke Hefner, who claimed she had been promised lifetime support, was awarded $65 million as a result of the trial. After a long legal battle, Lafferty will still be removed from the management of the foundation. I was the one who cared for Miss Duke until her death, he said. So much of what was said was very painful for me. He lamented that 3 years after Doris Duke's death, not a single penny had gone to charity, while the total amount spent by the lawyers contesting and defending her will exceeded $50 million. He will live in a luxurious $2 million mansion in Benedict Canyon, not far from Miss Duke's house. On the 3rd anniversary of Ms. Duke's death, Lafferty was seen throwing flowers into the Pacific Ocean at a location north of Malibu, near Zuma Beach. where he scattered some of Doris Duke's ashes after her death. Lafferty outlived his mistress by only 3 years and a week. His heart could not bear the burden, which perhaps he did not choose. There, in a room with 20-foot ceilings, blood-red velvet curtains, a Venetian chandelier, and a carved headboard made from the door of the Vanderbilt mansion, he would be found dead. He was 51 years old. He was cremated wearing his favorite golden silk Armani jacket, a white silk shirt, black silk trousers, black velvet Versace shoes, and a rosary adorned with shamrocks. His ashes were scattered in the same waters as Miss Duke's off her Hawaiian estate. Interestingly, in his will, he left nothing to his closest relatives, for aunts and several cousins. In essence, he returned everything to Miss Duke's foundation. He always believed it was her money, and he managed it exactly as she would have wanted. He knew that for certain. The funeral was attended by those who believed him: actresses Sharon Stone and Elizabeth Taylor, singer Peggy Lee. The others were silent. He remained a stranger to high society. He was not considered an heir. He did not belong to any clan or dynasty. He was a servant. And yes, in the last months of his life, Lafferty even had his own butler. This story reminds us, loyalty often comes from where we least expect. What's your take on this story? Let us know in the comments. Please don't be silent. Share your impressions. Share your thoughts and experiences. If you haven't already, hit subscribe and join us on People Are Like Books for more stories that fascinate and inspire. And thank you for watching.